In a sensational courtroom battle that could be remembered as a turning point in South African political history, Democratic Alliance DA leader John Steenhuisen has unleashed what he calls irrefutable proof of high-level corruption, personally implicating President Cyril Ramaphosa in a sequence of clandestine financial transactions, cover-ups and misuse of state power. Standing in front of a packed Pretoria High Court, Steenhuisen shocked the country and even veteran political commentators with the public release of what he termed the Ramaphosa Files, a document of leaked emails, offshore bank transaction records, foreign bank transaction records, and sworn affidavit detailing allegedly a huge web of money laundering, secret payments, and offshore accounts involving both local and international players. The packed courtroom, comprising journalists, legal specialists, opposition MPs, and members of the public, was held in its collective breath. As Steenhuisen read critical passages from the documents, the DA leader stated that the papers had definitive proof of payments going from front companies to government-associated contractors, a number of which were said to have been authorized, facilitated, or covered up by people within Ramaphosa's inner circle. Each of the documents was supported by dates, company names, email correspondence, and transactional records associated with dubious state contracts. Many of them for years hidden behind bureaucratic tape and legal complexities. The president has talked endlessly about clean governance and transparency, Steenhuisen stated, his voice firm and unwavering as cameras telecasted the events countrywide. And here lie the documents that indicate otherwise. The people of this country were promised a new dawn. What they got instead was a darker night of lies, theft, and betrayal. Among the most explosive elements of the evidence was alleged proof that Ramaphosa's involvement in the post-state capture cleanup process was not aimed at eradicating corruption, but rather at concealing it. The documents contained leaked WhatsApp exchanges between senior government officials indicating that money initially allocated to public infrastructure projects had been redirected into private hands. Those private accounts, according to supporting financial documents, were linked to Ramaphosa foundations and foreign entities assumed to be owned by longtime ANC business partners. Screenshots of encrypted chats and Dubai and Swiss-based bank transaction slips were introduced into court as part of the evidence, which legal analysts have said were potentially explosive. Outside the court, Steenhuisen gave a blistering public address, excoriating Ramaphosa and the ANC leadership for what he termed a grand betrayal of public trust. Speaking to a crowd of reporters and protesters outside the court gates, the DA leader stated, South Africans have a right to know that while they suffer load shedding, increasing unemployment, and widespread crime, those responsible were occupied in secret deals behind closed doors, looting themselves and their friends in the name of reform. No more cover-up, no more spin. The truth is out and it is going to shake this country to its very foundations. He went on to say that the dossier had already been filed with international law enforcement agencies and global financial crime monitors such as the International Monetary Crimes Commission and several anti-corruption agencies in the EU. Steenhuisen pledged that the DA would push for full criminal prosecution of all individuals implicated, not only Ramaphosa, but also ministers, aides, and advisors who allegedly enabled this parallel network of self-enrichment to flourish under a false cloak of integrity. We are done playing by the ANC's rules, he said. This is no longer about politics. It's about justice, and justice demands action. The disclosures shook the ANC's iconic headquarters, Latuli House, with senior party officials convening an emergency session on the crisis hours after the court hearing. President Ramaphosa was reportedly visibly disturbed by the claims and had directed his lawyers to carry out a swift internal forensic audit of all transactions mentioned, insider sources said. At the same time, the presidency released a brief, tactfully worded statement rejecting the DA's allegations as a political distraction that was meant to stall the ANC's leadership in the lead-up to municipal elections. These are not new allegations. It stated they are repurposed political theater intended to seed discord and besmirch the office of the president. But behind closed doors, it was clear that panic had set in. A senior ANC official speaking anonymously admitted that the scope of the documents had taken them completely by surprise. "We knew Steenhuisen was preparing something, but not this. The level of detail, the names, the transactions, it's terrifying. If this evidence holds up under forensic examination, we're not just looking at a political crisis. We're looking at the collapse of a presidency." The people's response was quick and angry. Twitter and Facebook were abuzz with #Ramaphosa exposed, #ANC leaks and #new donor news scam as citizens cried out for answers and resignations. Civic associations, legal monitors, and even leading ANC veterans called for a swift independent commission of inquiry. Demonstrations swept Parliament and provincial legislatures in Cape Town, Johannesburg and Durban. One protester who wore a sign that said, "You lied to us, Mr. President," said in an interview, "This was our last hope." Ramaphosa vowed us accountability. If even him is tainted, then what's left? Constitutional law experts say the case might lead to a variety of constitutional fallout. Parliament might soon have to initiate formal impeachment proceedings should a primacy case be made. Ramaphosa may also be charged with perjury, financial misbehavior and abuse of public office. This has the potential to be South Africa's largest political scandal since the time of Zuma, if not larger, said Professor Zainal Makiz, a constitutional law specialist. The magnitude and design of what Steenhuisen has exposed suggest organized corruption, sophisticated, intentional, and institutionally protected. Analysts also observe that this crisis comes on the heels of increasing discord among the South African public. Economic growth has plateaued, violent crime is escalating, basic service delivery is worsening, and the national power grid remains in turmoil. This scandal strikes like thunder in the midst of a tempest. Political analyst Saifo Marjola stated, "The public is weary, disillusioned, and prepared for accountability. And now the reform mask has slipped. Inside the ANC, the cracks are beginning to show." Camps that support Deputy President Paul Moshetel and Secretary General Fel Malula are said to be preparing for a potential leadership void. There are rumors of an emergency elective conference and talk of certain provinces defecting if Ramaphosa will not resign. "The question now isn't so much if the president is going to survive," said one old ANC hand. "It's if the ANC itself is going to survive this whole thing intact."